Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking open a really fascinating book of poetry that does something I've never quite seen before. It takes these beautiful lyrical verses and smashes them together with the raw, rebellious energy of street art. This is Ghetto of Poetry.
And really, the whole thing kicks off with one central burning question. What happens when poetry, which so often feels trapped on a page, literally escapes and hits the streets? What happens when art has to fight for its own life?
The title itself is a total provocation, right? Ghetto of Poetry translates to the ghetto of poetry. And as the book's preface says, when you imagine a dark, almost forbidden place and then associate it with poetry, well, it kind of makes you think of purgatory. And right there, that's the central metaphor. Poetry is trapped, it's isolated, and it is desperate for a way out.
So who's living in this so-called ghetto? Well, at the heart of the book, we have this incredible character, a protagonist, who basically embodies this entire struggle and carries the whole story forward. He's living this complete double life. You see, by day, he's a poet. He's introspective, he's connected to nature, the cosmos, all the quiet, deep parts of himself. But then, when the sun goes down, he transforms. He becomes a street artist, a rebel taking his art public, plastering it on the walls as an act of protest for absolutely everyone to see.
Now, let's be super clear about something. This ghetto of poetry, it isn't a real place you can find on a map. It's a symbol, and a really powerful one. It stands for how modern poetry can feel so isolated, so marginalized in our fast, noisy world. And the whole mission of our hero is to tear down the walls of that invisible prison.
The book itself is really clever, because it mimics this exact tension. The whole flow of the story is split into two very different parts. We start with conexione, which means connections, and this section lets us explore the poet's rich inner world before he decides to rebel.
Imagine opening the book, and this is the very first thing you read. It just drops you right into this cosmic, earthy vibe. He writes, "Last night I dreamed I was a tree. I was stirring the earth's entrails with cosmic braids of maple wood." You can feel it, right? This first part is all about that deep, almost spiritual connection between the artist, the planet, and the entire universe.
And this theme of creation is just everywhere. In a poem called The Genesis of Poetry, he says, "The entire weight of the universe rests on the rib from which I broke a piece of paper to write a poem to the Creator." Wow, I mean, with just one image, he's framing his own art as this divine act, like an echo of the creation of everything. So yeah, this whole first section is just a deep dive into the artist's soul. You've got these themes of connection to the cosmos, the chaos of being an artist, blending yourself with your art, and even struggling against this disconnected, tech-driven reality we live in. The book's preface calls it an energy of high, bright, and attractive vibration, and that just nails it. It's a beautiful lyrical journey. But then, everything shifts. That quiet, introspective energy, it doesn't last. We hit the second section, Incognito, and the tone flips completely. The contemplative poet pulls on a mask, he hits the streets, and the whole theme becomes about one thing: protest.
So why does he do it? Is it for fame? Nope. He says it right here. "I don't want fame, just a place to show how pain trembles in us, that we are thoughts without voices, hidden between opaque curtains of apartment blocks." His whole mission is to give a voice to the voiceless, to take all that private pain and hidden thought and make it public.
And a big part of his protest, it's a direct shot at how he sees art being devalued. He says poetry is sold by the portion at a dispenser, like it's some cheap soda from a vending machine. And that feeling fuels his rebellion. It gets him to a point where he says, "I want to shout in the streets. I tell everyone I have lost the calling to write." Of course, he hasn't really lost it. He's just found a new, louder way to answer it.
So the question is, how do you fight back against a ghetto like that? A world where your art is either locked away and ignored or sold off cheaply like a commodity.
Okay, so this is where the whole thing just clicks into place. The story in the book, this fictional journey, it actually mirrors how the book itself was created. It's a real-life collaboration between two artists, the poet, Larisa Calo, and a graffiti artist, or grapher, who goes by Harcea Pacea.
And this partnership created something totally new. When the illustrator Harcea Pacea was asked what these two art forms can learn from each other, he gave this brilliant answer. A graffiti artist can learn sensitivity and vulnerability from a poet, but get this, a poet can learn insensitivity and assumption from a grapher. That boldness, you know? That courage to just put your work out there for the world to see, no permission asked.
All right, I'm going to throw a number at you. 70%. Now, what on earth could that mean in a book of poetry and art?
That number is proof of just how deep this collaboration went. The poet, Larisa Calo, rewrote 70% of her poems after she saw the cybersteampunk illustrations from Harcea Pacea. So this wasn't just a case of, you write the words, I'll draw the pictures. No way. The art actually changed the poetry. The two evolved together into one single, cohesive work. It's a true fusion.
So what's the big takeaway here? Where does all this lead? Well, the book isn't just a story, it's really a kind of manifesto, with a very clear and powerful message about what the mission of art should be in our world today.
The argument is this. Art's mission is to be authentic, to be vulnerable, to have the guts to show what's hidden deep inside you. But it can't just stay there. It has to become an act of protest, something that gives a voice to the forgotten and connects all of us by reminding us we're human. And it all builds to this desperate, powerful cry from one of the poems, Lasats arta sutriaska, which means, let art live.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. This book frames poetry on city walls as a vital act of protest. So the question it leaves for all of us is this. If art is a protest, what walls, real or metaphorical, need to be written on today?